Good morning, my lovelies. So in today's video, we are doing something a little different. We're not talking about astrology, but we're still talking about energetics. And this is something I've been working on with my private clients mainly. I haven't really been discussing this publicly. And by this, I mean my understanding of the development of the feminine consciousness. You've probably heard about the concept of the maiden, the mother, and the crone. And while I understand and see how that works, going from the maiden, the mother, and then the crone, I based on that developed my own understanding, and I found names that worked for me. And I also added a stage, because I believe going from the mother to the crone is quite a jump, and there is a stage in between. And you might wonder, well, why is this all important? What does that do for me? What can I learn from it? Well, in my understanding, it can help you develop your consciousness. If you understand those stages, those 4 stages, you are able to get to know yourself better, and it can help you raise your consciousness. So what are those 4 stages for me? And what did I name them? So the first stage for me is the Sleeping Beauty. And the Sleeping Beauty is basically looking at the world with a lot of limitations, and also depending on what the Sleeping Beauty wants to see, she puts the rose-colored glasses on, or she's completely in denial. So she is still at a stage where she blames the other. She is like, oh, this relationship didn't work out because the guy was like this and he was like that, and he didn't do this for me and he didn't do that for me. I have problems with my mother because she's like this and that. She is not able to look at herself. She's not able to see what is mirrored back to her. And when it comes to astrology, because I utilize the concept of astrology, the energy of astrology, the energetic system of astrology. When it comes to astrology, the Sleeping Beauty uses astrology to explain why her life isn't working or why it is working. She uses astrology as a reasoning system for why this is like this, and why this guy was like that, because he had his moon in Aries, he was like this, and because he had his sun in Leo, that's why he was like selfish. She's using all these tools in a way that keeps her in denial. And that's why I always keep saying, and you hear me saying that all the time when I talk about astrology, you can utilize astrology in whatever way you want, right? You can use it for entertainment, you can use it to stay in denial and stay small, you can use it to up level. It is up to you, and it is up to your consciousness level. So what happens after the Sleeping Beauty awakens? What is happening? What stage does she go in? Well, the Sleeping Beauty goes into the stage of the Cinderella. What's the stage of the Cinderella? The Cinderella is the stage where she starts to see that things don't just happen to her, that she can make things happen. But the way that she can make things happen is in a way of really utilizing her masculine energy. She is working hard. She's working so hard. And she's getting somewhere, but she's exhausted. She's burned out. She's just like, she's just utilizing the material world. She's utilizing what is offered to her in the world around her to get ahead. And she is in the doing mode. So Cinderella is working hard, doing the thing, working hard, and she's still limiting herself. She's still capping herself, right? Because she believes that she has to do. She has to do, only do to get somewhere. She's not yet utilizing her the energy of attraction, the energy of attracting magnetism, magnetizing things to her. She's still not rooted in her feminine. Through her awakening, she obviously observes her surrounding much more, and she sees, okay, if I do this, if I go there, if I just be more like a man, I can get things done and I can do things. And she's very self-aware in a way, but that self-awareness is still in a small container. She still has not widened, expanded her container. She's in a container, and within that container, she's like, okay, I can do all these things. And within this container, she gets somewhere. But really, it's like there's no quantum leaping here. There's just like a step by step. I see this manual, and the manual says, okay, I have to do this, and then this will happen. And then I have to do that, and then that will happen, right? She's still in this understanding of, I'm told that to be successful, you have to do all these things. She doesn't understand yet how to utilize energy and magnetizing things to her, right? Allowing things to come in instead of going out and making them happen. That's why she is exhausted all the time, right? Because she's trying to do it all. She's trying to do it all of it. And the emphasis here is of doing. She's trying to do it all. She's not trying to be it all, but she's trying to do it all. And if she gets to a certain stage, she might be able to get a glimpse of what it means to attract the quote-unquote prince to her, right? And no, we're not talking about the fairy tale where the prince comes and then sweeps her off her feet and then everything is whoop-de-doo. We're not going to that. That is like Sleeping Beauty kind of stage, right? We're not talking about this, but we're talking about the understanding that the Cinderella is gaining through observing and through continuous observing, and then reflecting back, having it mirrored back to her. She is starting to gain an understanding that it can be easier. In this stage, she can transform herself into the quote-unquote princess, right? And where the princess understanding that I apply here is she gets that she can, things can come to her, right? It depending on where she is in the Cinderella stage, she starts to see, oh, okay, things can come, but she is not stable in it. She's not grounded in it. So often it falls off again, right? She's like, oh, I'm attracting it, but her container is not expanded enough. She still needs to keep growing that container to hold the manifestations, right? She starts to understand that it's not just about doing to create something, to get something, to make something happen. It's not about just working your A off to get all the things. No, she starts to understand, I can call this in by me believing in it, by me being open to it, by me expanding my container, right? The understanding of I can have it. I truly believe I can have it. And then I take inspired action. So I don't work in the way where it's like, oh, I hustle. No, I take inspired actions. So at the later stage of that Cinderella development, she's starting to get it. And then she gets to step into the queen stage. And the queen stage is the stage where she really starts to understand what it means to magnetize things to you. She starts to understand that she is her own source. And that things that she utilizes are channels. She utilizes the channel of astrology to understand how to call something in. When she looks at her chart, she understands that, okay, I have this certain aspect. I can utilize it. I utilize it and I draw things to me through my inspired actions. And when we talk about actions in this stage, we are really truly talking about inspired actions. There is no more like I hustle, I hustle, I hustle. That doesn't mean that there might not be things to do, but she understands the hustling, the hard work, like it has to be hard to get it. She left that behind. She left that in the Cinderella stage. And the reason I used the term queen here is that a queen is ruling a territory, right? She's ruling a nation. She's ruling. And what does it mean when she's ruling? Well, she's ruling her territory, right? Her life, her environment. She's ruling it. She doesn't let others rule it. She rules. And she rules with her feminine energy, depending on the way she lives, you know? That will then obviously set the stage for how things come in, right? Maybe she is a stay-at-home mom and her husband is a provider husband that brings the money home. That's how she rules. She rules her little kingdom. But maybe she has a job and she sets the rules in her job, even if she goes to work, even if she has a so-called boss, right? Even if she works in a company, she still understands how to utilize her queen energy to call the money in. She doesn't look at that job as her source. She looks at that job as a funnel that funnels the money that comes to her, the abundance that comes to her. She funnels it through that job. The job is not the source. She's the source. And she understands how to utilize that funnel. She understands how to utilize that queen energy, you know, because she's rooted in the understanding of attracting money to her, attracting abundance to her, attracting valuables to her, because she values herself. Now, the last stage here is the stage of the Empress. And why did I call this the Empress? Well, the Empress has an empire. What is an empire? The empire is not a nation. It is not one territory. An empire is nations, territories, right? It is a broader space. That means the Empress understands how to really fully utilize the container and how to expand it, to have it all, to get all her needs met in the way she needs to have them met. And the reason I didn't call that the goddess or the divine is because we live on planet Earth and we utilize the divine, we utilize our goddess energy to make things happen. The Sleeping Beauty, it also has the goddess in her. The Cinderella has the goddess in her. The Queen has the goddess in her. And the Empress has the goddess in her. They all have the goddess in them. But on planet Earth, we live in a material world, right? We are talking about all of this, the stages of the feminine consciousness within the 3D world, utilizing the 4D, utilizing the 5D, and calling it in. So the difference between the Queen and the Empress is that the Empress has come to the understanding that she has to just lean back, right? Her empire is big. She has her empire work for her. And by empire, I mean she understands the energetics. She understands how to utilize all the energetics, how to work them, move through all the energetics. She has a very, very beautiful, harmonious understanding of dancing different dances at different times, and whatever is required at certain times to call things to you. She's fully in her feminine energy, as she knows how to attract things to her. She is not where the Queen is still utilizing the doing stages more, where she's still in the doing much more. The Empress, there's no doing in the Empress stage. At that stage, you know how to lean back and receive. That doesn't mean that you sit on the couch all day, right? I'm not saying that the Empress sits on the couch all day, but she just flows through life. She flows through life. When she is moving, there is no like her doing is not what attracts things to her. She might still do things, right? She's still living on the planet Earth. She's still doing things, but the doing is not bringing in things. The things come in because she understands the energy, because she's rooted in the energy. And she has, of course, also set up her life in that way, right? She went through all the stages. No one comes in as the Empress. We are all going through different stages, and some of us stay longer in certain stages. Some people, they move through the Sleeping Beauty, when they're super young, when they're, still teenagers, and they get to the Cinderella and they get to the Queen really quickly. But no one is really born as the Queen consciousness. We are all born as goddesses, right? We all have that goddess energy in us. But the way we play it out and walk it out in the quote-unquote real world, in the 3D, that is depending on our consciousness level. And of course, a lot has to do with how we've been brought up, how we've been raised, and how we then utilize it. But if you plan on building an empire, you will not get to that empire as the Sleeping Beauty, as the Cinderella, or as the Queen. The Queen has her queendom, she has a kingdom, queendom, whatever you want to call it. And that is beautiful. And she moves through it in a beautiful way, but she still needs to learn to lean back more, she needs to still be more rooted in that understanding of the divine, her working with the divine, right? Because all these stages work with the divine, but they work with the divine in their own way, depending on their consciousness level. So I will make more videos on these stages, and I also have courses that will help you really utilize these stages and getting deeper into it. Like in February, I will have a course that will help you awaken your Sleeping Beauty if that's the stage where you're in. And I also have to say that, everything is fluid when it comes to these energetics, when it comes to the understanding of consciousness. So sometimes we find ourselves between stages, and it is also possible to be a Sleeping Beauty in a certain part of your life, completely asleep. But in another part of your life, you might be in the Cinderella stage already, right? So it's not like you end one stage and then you start another. It's not a hard cut every time. It is fluid, and we live in a time-space reality. You have to remember that. And in a time-space reality, especially when you're in this Sleeping Beauty stage and the Cinderella stage, this time-space reality is so real. It is much more real than when you're in the Empress stage. The Empress stage is a stage where time-space is not really what you're working with anymore. You're working with you're working on a quantum level here. You've learned to quantum leap. You've done the hard work, and you understand that hard work was actually never required, but it also helped you to get where you want to go. But you don't really fully understand that in the Cinderella stage or the Sleeping Beauty stage. You don't understand that hard work is not required. Someone might say to you, the hard work is not required, and you might say, okay, maybe I can make sense of it on the mental plane, but inside of you, you don't believe it. You believe the hard work is still required, because that's still what you work through. It's part of your consciousness level, that understanding, So it is, I believe it's a beautiful way to see your own becoming, right? To look at your own becoming, to your own development as a feminine being on this planet. And I could talk about this forever, but we will get more into this in 2024. And I hope you are as excited as me about this, and we can do this together. If you have any questions about any of these stages, if you have any questions generally about the feminine principles, if you have any other questions, feel free to leave me comment in the comment section. If you want to work on this on a deeper level, we can work together on a coaching basis. Also, my mastermind will open again in the beginning of March 2024. So if you're watching this before March 2024 and you're interested, you can email me to get more information. And yeah, that's it for today. I wish you a beautiful day and I'll talk to you later. Bye, loves.